Moving on, each year we give out the Ron Collins Memorial Award, and just before we do that, I'd like to welcome up Dr. Rebecca Athorn, who was last year's, 2016 Ron Collins Memorial recipient, and her area of interest was precision livestock farming, and Rebecca's just going to give a 10-minute overview of her studies. Thank you.
So Andrew mentioned, I was fortunate enough to receive this award back in 2016. And just before I start, I just wanted to thank Jeffo for actually sponsoring the award, Riverlea Australia, who I was employed with at the time that I went on this trip, for allowing me to go and supporting me on that trip, and also to APL, who helped with the award as well. So yes, I did look at precision livestock farming technologies. I travelled over to Europe to look at these. So as we know, there's precision in agriculture, and this has been around for quite a while. You've got your broadacre cropping. They're using a lot of GPS there. It's basically for efficiencies. The computer is able to set the tractor where it's going, and you can get the most you can out of that piece of land that you have. Also, other technologies such as drones now, that's taking person away. The drone can actually do a lot more in the time that a human can do, can identify weeds, yields, and things like that. So we know that's quite regularly used in agriculture. But I was very interested in this new and emerging area, which was precision livestock farming technologies. So basically, what a PLF is continuous and automatic monitoring. You can monitor health, you can monitor environment, and even production, such as weight and feed conversion ratio. And with these things, you can also have real-time alerts. So you can have a smartphone in your pocket, and the sensors that are in the sheds that are monitoring health, environment, or production can send alerts to your phone that's in your pocket in the real time, letting you know that there's been a deviation from the normal in that shed, there's something's changed in the pattern, and alerting you, maybe I better go and check that shed now, or check that shed first thing when I go into the farm. They can also help with decision-making tools, and that's just using data. So we collect a lot of data, but these systems are able to actually interpret this data and give you some decision-making tools and help in that process. So as I said, I travelled to Europe, and I actually attended the EU PLF final conference in Belgium. So it was a 4-year project funded by the EU looking at PLF technologies in intensive farming systems specifically. So they looked at dairy, poultry and pigs. And we're fortunate enough this afternoon to actually get a presentation on some of this stuff in the poultry industry from David Speller, who actually gave a presentation at this conference, and was very quite interesting what they're actually being able to achieve in the poultry industry at the moment. At this conference as well, they actually had producers get up and give their perspective on these technologies that were included. They tried them out on actual farms with the farmers there, and got their feedback on what they thought was the value, the ease of implementation and the use. So some of the technologies that they had over there and that were developed for this project was these weighing technologies. So actually using vision to estimate the weight of the pig. So using the dynamics of the pig and using algorithms to estimate the weight quite accurately. So this is hands off, no need to run pigs over scales. The pig goes up to the feeding station, it's quite still there eating, the camera's mounted on the roof, takes this picture and estimates the weight from that. There's also behavioural. So this was a camera that's mounted on the roof, and it looks at how the pigs are spreading out across the day. And then there's also this grid here just to show you, the density in that pen and where the pigs are actually lying, what they're doing. These pigs here may, for some reason, all start crowding on one side of the pen. Why is that happening? You may get an alert telling you that this is happening. Go on and find out that a water line is out or something like that. Or you've actually got a lot of unhealthy pigs in that pen and they're starting to huddle to keep warm, or they're just not well. So just those sort of things that just picking up slightly earlier than you would as a farmer if you're walking through the sheds and you haven't been there for a few hours or so. And there's also health monitoring, so using sound as well as cameras. And this one is an example of a sound monitor that monitors coughing sounds. So as you can see here, this sort of hangs from the roof over the pen and monitors the coughing sounds. There's normal sounds here across the time. Obviously they're all coughing, but it's actually sensitive enough to pick up the difference in a cough, and knowing that may be an indication of impending disease. Also here it compares the days. So one there's yesterday showing that the pig's coughing. This is when they cough. They may cough more in the morning. That's fine. And throughout the day, then it compares it. So if there's an obvious deviation there, that's another early warning sign that there could be something wrong there. And one of the major things that come out of this conference, and of course when you're looking into these things and coming from a production background and thinking about this, is the actual value of this kind of technology and what value it can bring. So obviously there's measurable value. So we know there's direct economic impact related to determining slaughter weights, FCR, and early detection of health issues. There's also a clear, but as of yet unquantifiable value, which they termed soft value in this trial in Europe. And these are animal welfare. So it's just being able to monitoring and proving that, yes, we do monitor animals. There may be times there's no one in the sheds, but we do have systems there that we can monitor all the time. And obviously, if we can address issues early, that's also a benefit for animal production, animal welfare, which then will lead to production gains as well. So they all come hand in hand. As well as social. So, the consumers like to think, that's really good, cool, they're using technology to monitor their pigs. We all have iPhones. They understand that, I suppose. So it's a bit more relatable for them. And also for the workers. It's free time to be able to be doing other things on the farm and doing things rather than checking your animals constantly, because nobody can do that. Nobody's in the shed 24/7. So that was just basically a quick overview of my trip, but I'm happy to talk to anyone if anyone has any specific questions. But we know this is an area of growth in production, in all areas of production and all industries, and it's only going to get bigger from here on in. Thank you.
Rebecca, just one quick one. Out of what countries are really pushing the boundaries in this technology game, and where did you see most of that development happening?
Yeah, so a lot of this work is actually happening in the Netherlands, Belgium, and particularly in Denmark as well. Denmark are using a lot of this for welfare kind of measures. They're even looking at trying to predict timings of maybe tail bite outbreaks, and looking at maybe diarrhoea episodes and things like that, and seeing if there's anything that they've recorded in the previous days of these outbreaks of disease or issues such as tail biting. That could be, the pig's water intake spiked, then all of a sudden they've got tail bites happening. So that's the area they're really looking at in Denmark with that. And in Holland, where one of the farms were that were using some of these technologies, they were using a lot of the automation sort of things. They were a family farm. They had built new sheds on their farms, but there was only the farmer and his wife and a couple of workers. So they wanted to use that as a time of freedom, and they, trying to source labour was quite difficult as well. So if they could have these sort of tools to help them in their business, that's where they were really interested in that. And of course, I suppose environmental as well. Over in Europe, there's a lot of work in the environmental area and automation.
Any questions?
Thank you, Rebecca. I mean, I work with data myself a lot, and so I know big data can have big error. And what is done overseas, and as an industry I can see it, we have all this technology and all of this information that flows at us. So what do you think were the key factors to actually make it usable on farm? So that farmers can actually, they're busy people, they don't look at lots and lots of data, but so that huge amount of data is actually being combined to useful information. Yeah.
Yes, that's another important thing, and that's one aspect of this sort of thing is the big data, what they call big data. And the Internet of Things and all the information you can get and you can store in the cloud and all this, but what does it mean if we collect it and we don't do anything with it? So there are a lot of platforms there, and this is where the farmers and the animal scientists have to come together with the engineers and the computer scientists to develop software and programs and things that can actually make sense of this data. And they create algorithms and things, and it's called machine learning, and it's even, can go into the space of AI, artificial intelligence, and those sort of things that need to be done, because there's just no way, one, storage of all this data, a lot of it needs to be stored in wireless networks and things like that, because there's just so much that we can collect. And then two, you need to have these programs written that, the farmer can access that data if they want. It's not, taking your data away. It's there in the background if you want to see it, but there is a platform that comes up with the graph that shows you every day, this is your growth rate, this is your standard deviation. It could be a prediction, it's going to take this many days if they keep eating this much feed to reach market weight. So you can sort of try and predict your markets and, when you will have pigs ready for market. So, yeah, it's two worlds coming together here, and, we need to work together to make it successful.
Thanks very much, Rebecca. Fantastic to see, but more importantly that you've been a part of the industry, you've increased your knowledge through that with the support of industry, and it's great to see you back and remain in the industry, and good luck, and we hope that you can help us improve our farms on that. Well done.
Thanks, Andrew.
Which is the great prelude, and if I can welcome up Wayne Bradshaw. And Wayne, as each Triple PE, it's a great time to now announce the 2018 Ron Collins Memorial Award. I'll hand over and welcome Wayne Bradshaw.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again my great pleasure and honour to be able to be up here and present the Pan Pacific Pork Expo Ron Collins Travel Award. I congratulate APL and the Pan Pacific Committee for running another successful event, and thank them for allowing me to present this prestigious award. Ron and I first discussed the concept of conducting an international standard pig industry event in 1993, an event for the industry to be proud of. And since that inaugural event in 1998, and as Marcus said before, 20 years ago and a few kilos and some grey hairs later, here we are. Ron, and for those who knew him, was a great supporter of the Australian pig industry and for young researchers coming through, and of the producers, and a great friend to many of us. And sadly, he passed away in June of 2003. He left his papers, the Australian Pork newspaper and Bush and Beach, in the safe hands of his wife Sue and son Ben. And I welcome Ben back here today again and congratulate him on his new publication that he's launched as well. As a sign of respect, we wanted to recognise Ron's contribution and commitment to the industry, and it was decided to establish the Ron Collins Pan Pacific Pork Expo Travel Award. The winner of this award needs to travel internationally, research their topic, which is deemed by the judging panel as an important to the industry, and then, as well as presenting the report to APL, must also disseminate this information to producer groups throughout Australia. It is never an easy task to select this award, and I thank the judging panel for their support. With the continued support of the Australian Pork newspaper, the inaugural Pan Pacific Pork Expo Committee and Australian Pork Limited, the first winner was announced in 2004. And the winner then was Stacey Martin from Western Australia. 2006 was Barb Frey. 2008 was Ross Brown. 2010, Mark McLean. Greg Mills in 2012. 2014 was Emlyn Loudon. And we've just heard from Rebecca, who won our last event. And now to 2018. At this point, I would like to thank Heather and the Research and Innovation Department of Australian Pork Limited for continuing to see the benefit of this award and to present it. And I thank them and thank Andrew and the team from APL for continuing to support this award. And we thank you very much. Over the past years, we have had over 90 top quality applications. Our judging panel had another difficult task this year with a number of applications. I thank you to all the applicants for applying, but I'm afraid there can be only one winner, and this year it gives me great pleasure to announce that the winner of the Ron Collins Pan Pacific Pork Expo Travel Award for 2018 is Alice Weaver. Alice is in the Research and Development Coordinator for Myora Farms in South Australia. Alice has had a long history with the Australian pig industry and is another success story of pork CRC, as Alice completed her PhD and was supported by Pork CRC Honours Scholarship and started with Myora under the April Industry Placement Program. Alice will utilise the Ron Collins Pan Pacific Pork Expo Travel Award to travel to Spain and further investigate advancements in reproductive technologies and improve overall performance. These advances are being used successfully internationally, and we look forward to Alice being able to bring these back to our industry in Australia. I'm sure you'll agree that as the industry is under more pressure to improve return on investment and the improvements in reproductive performance, this will be a great step in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 winner of the Ron Collins Travel and Pan Pacific Pork Expo Travel Award, Alice Weaver.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you so much. That's something I'm quite passionate about, is the reproductive technologies, and I feel like the Australian pig industry has done such a great job at adopting artificial insemination, but there's so much more potential out there, and especially overseas there's a lot of work being done on things like sex semen and semen freezing, so I think there's a lot of potential to tap into some of that. So yeah, I look forward to heading over to Spain and bringing back some great ideas for all the producers out there.